Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. And this is a special live show. We got a full house. We got my man, Stephen Fox, from Sports Talk with the Fox and Sports Vibes TV. And my other brother, Lee Escobedo from KOT Show and SNY. All right, good to have you both guys. Foxy, haven't talked to you in a while. How's it going, man?
All is well. Salute to you. Salute to Lee. Salute to the chat. Salute to Knicks fans all over. Can't wait to talk New York Knicks basketball.
Awesome. And Lee, welcome back, brother.
Appreciate you, brother, man. Nice to be here talking Knicks. It's been a lively couple of days on Twitter since the collapse in Milwaukee against the Bucks. So happy to talk Knicks here.
Yes, it has been. It has been. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's start with that. Any new and additional thoughts you've had since we last spoke about it?
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, I was on a scale of 1 to 10. Fire Tibbs, I was about a 10. Now I'm about a 11. I would say. Still feeling strong. You know, this loss was not on the kids. It wasn't about exhaustion. It wasn't about neophytes taking their lumps. This was about a coach making terrible decisions in terms of his rotations and defensive schemes, putting in iHeart in the late in the third, early in the fourth. That 7.5 minute stretch or whatever it was completely turned the game around because of his defensive lapses
and also taking IQ out,
and pairing Toppin and Fournier together in that 5-man group. I thought was an awful idea. All about bringing Obi back in slowly. This was not the game I think to do that, especially with such a monster in the front court like Giannis. It made no sense. And also just his over-reliance, not on this every game and every team he's ever coached, on guarding the paint opposed to guarding the three-point line. People really down on Fournier for that defensive lapse where he let the wide open Joe Ingles open. But that was Tibbs' direction. It was to pack the paint and form a wall against Giannis. Fournier was following Tibbs' instructions. And, you saw what it ended up causing there in the fourth quarter.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with all of those issues. The Fire Thibs, it's interesting to be talking about that right now in lieu of his 100 wins and the team being, in 6th and 7th place right now. But it's definitely something that we should not stop repeating here. Because I think, and Fox, I know Fox's feelings about it all. We're all on the same boat in terms of that. And a lot of that is because, and especially myself, I'll speak for myself, I'm a firm believer that the talent on this roster is much better than they've been allowed to show.
Agreed.
So that's my main issue. And like last year, I said last year we totally underperformed. But first, before move on here, I just want to shout out to the chat. Lex the Destroyer, best mod around, is in town. Thank you so much for showing up. And yes, smash that like button for us, please. Definitely appreciate that. And share this stream with people, other Knicks fans, or just share it on social media, whatever. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I mean, what are you waiting for? I mean, we're trying to get to 7,000 subs. And also check out Sports Vibes TV. The Sunday streams will be back in action with Keese and Foxy. And don't forget to check out Lee on on the Nick of Time post-game shows. Always a great watch. And with my man Jay Ellis, who was one of my inspirations for doing this. Yeah. Now, Foxy, your thoughts on that Bucks loss?
In a lot of ways, I don't know how we could even think about beating a quality team, shooting 26% from three, having 16 team assists. Like Lee was saying, IQ only having 2 shots in the fourth quarter. Grimes having 7 shots for the whole game. And you brought up a great point in your recap, George, that we had 4 players over 38 minutes, and then you look at them, meaning the Bucks, and look, you only had, their players, the minute distribution, and it just comes back, visually. You do the eye test, you look at Randall, and they had nothing left in the tank. Everyone's like, why can't they grab a goddamn rebound in the last few minutes of a game? Well, people may not think that, a team that plays running somebody 32 or 34 minutes versus somebody running 40 minutes. It's a difference, man. They don't have anything left in their game. in the tank.
You know what? To just jump on that, I don't know if you guys watched last night the Suns game against the Warriors.
I did not. That? I was watching college, actually.
Okay, good. Keep doing that, Fox. Keep doing that. Jim Jackson talked about the minutes distribution that Monty was using with his roster. He made. I wish I just would have recorded. If I wasn't stoned and I had to like deal with shit. I
resemble that remark.
he said to a certain extent. He said, "Look at what Monty's doing with the minutes. Suns are down to 8 men because of injuries and other issues. He is not letting anybody overplay. He's letting them all get minutes so that they all can be their best selves." I mean, he didn't use that exact language, but that was the point of it. It's the exact opposite of what Thibs has done.
Yeah,
he reduces the rotation, but Deuce still gets only 6 minutes sometimes, and Sims gets 4 minutes sometimes. That's not the way. What's the point of having a 9-man rotation if you're not going to use all 9 guys? So that I thought that was a great comment, and it was an indictment on how Thibs manages the minutes on this team, and it does burn guys out. I know it's a big controversial thing. There's a whole group of people that don't believe in that at all.
Just watch the Atlanta series 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm just telling you from a former athlete myself. You totally get worn down as games go, especially in those fourth quarters. But sorry, so you can finish that, Foxy.
Oh, I was just going to say the last thing was just also if you look at 2 guys had 59 out of 100 shots, and you look at Milwaukee and you're like, oh my God, Giannis had 15, Lopez had 16, Drew Holiday had 14, Ingles had. Wow, look at the distribution among all these guys, and we're heavy loaded with 2 guys, and if you throw in IQ, that's 3/4 of the shots. And also, what was it, 9 points for our bench? Yeah, 9 points for our.
Especially late in the fourth. It was Brunson took all the shots except for 1 in the last 4 minutes or so of that game.
Distrusted.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Bucks, they have an MVP guy. They could just be feeding him ISO, but no. They have guys out on the wings waiting.
Yeah, but did you see the ball move around the horn, though?
Yeah, they moved the ball. Exactly. And we've
got
guys to do it. So that's the stuff that's going to continue being frustrating because I'm not now that we're here, 22-19, we could have been 23-18. Now that we're here, I want to keep going. We're here. We're past the tank and all that stuff. That conversation is over and done with.
No, we're past halfway point now. RJ back. Now's the run.
RJ's back. I'm excited about that. RJ's back tonight, guys. If you haven't heard about it, Rowan Barrett Jr. is back.
And that's a really good point you made about like where we are right now. I think we've surpassed the threshold of Tibbs's positives. I always want to balance this because people really peg me as a Tibbs hater. I love what Tibbs does. Tibbs is very similar to Doc and Mark Jackson, even though Mark Jackson doesn't have the sample size that the other two do. You take them on a team, it's in total disrepair. A team that's mirrored in dysfunction. He can take that team and instill accountability, instill discipline, instill a defense identity. He can do all those things. Galvanize a roster around a goal of winning every single game and giving 48 minutes of effort. He's done that to this team. He took the team that was like Fizdale's, trash compactor, and he turned into a solid NBA product. But he has a threshold. And now we keep bumping up against that ceiling because what he isn't is an in-game adjuster, a tactician, and someone who's capable of evolution. He can't do those 3 things. We saw what he was in the playoffs against Atlanta. That was a reflection of what he's been his entire career, which is under 500 coach in the playoffs with all 3 franchises. You would think Chicago would boost it up. He's under 500 in his tenure.
25-36, exactly. And
yes, he is not
2-8 in the last 10, 4-1, 4-1 losses.
Bingo. He is not a good playoff coach. And now we're at the point, and like you said, the tanking conversation's over. Now we're going to be in the playoffs, I think, every year moving forward. Is this a coach you want? It's not the one I want. And that's why I say fire Tibbs. Not because, we're here and we hit at the 100-game mark, or I don't like the way he looks, or he has a bad comb over. It has nothing to do with those things. He's not a playoff coach, and now we're a playoff team.
Yeah, because those would be HR violations, by the way.
Probably already on Dolan's shit list.
Hey, we got a great crowd in here, man. We got, I see Margaret Edwards, the Earl 14, JJ, CAA Mafia, Cormega. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate the support. Brooklyn Buddha is in the house. Just Giselle Cash. I need some cash. Let's go. All right. Well, we're here to talk trade rumors, guys. Some things have been percolating out there. Let's get to it. Here we go. So, Michael Scotto, who writes for Hoops Hype and I think some other publications, he dropped this. It was his NBA notebook, just a summary of all the rumors he has been hearing involving Knicks, Lakers, Raptors, Mavericks, Pistons, and just plain old Kevin Durant. When he came to the Knicks, he spoke about specifically two players. Cam Reddish, who we all know is definitely on the way out. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up going. And Immanuel Quickley. What the hell? All right, I'm going to read this and then we'll talk about it. The Knicks are willing to part with Reddish for 2 second-round picks, league sources told Hoops Hype. The Lakers, Bucks, and other teams have inquired about the asking price for Reddish, who was shooting a career-high 44.9% from the field before being benched, Hoops Hype has learned. Another Knicks player whose name has circulated in the rumor mill this season is Immanuel Quickley. Several teams, including the Bucks, Mavericks, Wizards, and others have expressed interest in Quickley, league-wide sources told Hoops Hype. However, New York's previously reported asking price of a first-round pick and Quickley's improved play amid the loss of R.J. Barrett may make it tough for a trade to come to fruition. Prior to facing the Bucks on Monday night, Quickley was averaging 19.1 points on 47.1% shooting and 4.4 assists and 4.3 rebounds in his last 11 games. Quickley has averaged 20.3 points, 5.3 assists, and 4.9 rebounds through 8 games as a starter this season, by Michael Scotto. So, my main question to both of you is... All right, it's a twofold question. The main question is, should the Knicks be at all entertaining trading Immanuel Quickley at this time? Foxy.
No. They have him on their contract for $4.2 million next year. Let the development process continue. Assess him. It will be better assessment of him.
Is he winning you over a little more lately?
Well, I love guys who work on the game.
On him. I know you.
Well, he came into the
thing. You've been frustrated with him, just the same way, like JD and I. We've been frustrated with him as well.
Yeah, he came in as a sniper, and you don't shoot 39%, and around league average from 3. I know he's a great foul shooter, but I don't draft foul shooters. And the other parts of his game, he's picking up. But the thing, I love development. So watching him from his rookie season onward. His defense, he's gotten stronger. His defense is spectacular. We've been watching, different things where he's adding to his game, this year versus some, long floaters that he took in the past. He's pulling up across the lane for a midi, jump shot, traditional form, real shooting mechanics and everything else. So it has a higher percentage and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't see him as a point guard personally. I see him as an off guard where, whether in his rookie season with Derrick Rose, where he could break down the defense, kick it out to IQ, then whose shooting mechanics he squares up. When he's playing the point and everything, I think he's a really good secondary playmaker in transition, getting guys on lobs and stuff like that. But I think he's valuable. I don't think you can give up a guy like that. What are you going to? You're not going to get somebody, especially in this first round.
That was my second question.
That I've been studying. As you know, I studied the draft, watched 5 games the last couple of days, college game scouting. There's not a kid that you're going to get where we're going to pick who's going to be anywhere near IQ.
Yeah.
So you're going to take another project?
Second part, because I want to ask that. I'm going to come back around. Lee, do you feel the Knicks should be at all looking at trading IQ right now?
Hell no. And I think Leon Rose and Scott Perry have prioritized guards and bigs so far in their tenure as leaders over this franchise. Every year, they either sign, re-sign, or trade for a big and a guard. So I think in the draft, too, you've seen like Sims has been a priority with Scott Perry. Mitch was a priority. They signed Hartenstein, re-signed Mitch after that. I think that those are two positions they really value, especially in Tibbs' system. He had the most success in Chicago with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. So I think they're trying to replicate that to a certain degree and get the positions that are most important to their head coach. So, to me, that's the biggest priority. And Immanuel Quickley definitely solidifies that. He can play some off guard. And I think once his shot comes around, he's going to be a really elite bench player. He already has the strength and defense to guard the 1 through 3, and I think he can even get better than that too. He's also one of the lead leaders in a point differential defensively. So I have high hopes for him. I love the chemistry he has with Obi Toppin and the chemistry he's developing with Julius Randle, RJ, and Mitch.
All right. This is great. Now the next question, and I'm not gonna bore people because people know how I feel about Immanuel Quickley. I mean, I think the very first video, Knicks-Verse, that I ever dropped was, should Immanuel Quickley be starting? This is 2 years ago. So people know that I love Immanuel Quickley, so I'm not going to sing his praises here. But the thing is, sometimes things develop because other teams have certain needs. And those needs motivate them to pay a little more. What would it take to wow you to trade IQ before the February 9th trade deadline, Lee?
LaMelo Ball. It would have to be someone of that stature at the guard position that's going to duplicate IQ's skill set and then brings an extra level of oomph. So like an Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, those are two guys who have to see becoming disgruntled in their current situations. I'm not considering SGA. I think he's happy and OKC's thriving. But those two guards specifically are on my wish list, and that's who I would trade it for. Wouldn't trade it for
You're saying yes, as part of a star trade.
Correct. Not a Jordan Clarkson move, not a lateral move, but something that really upgrade our roster and only in the guard position. I think we're pretty good at the 4 or 5, and I would even argue at 3, but there's no one out there at the 3 that I'm interested in, including Immanuel Quickley, and it would only be for another 1 or 2.
All right, Foxy, same question. If a team came and wowed us, what would be like the bare minimum of what you would want in exchange for IQ at this moment, at this time before February 9th?
For a roster construction, looking at it, I'd absolutely go after a 3, and that would be, I brought it up on a show a couple of streams ago. I'd go after a Mikal Bridges, I'd go after a Trey Murphy, and I'd go after, on the same team, a Najee Marshall. When they have a Zion, CJ, and Ingram tied up for a little over $100 million. Then you got Herb Jones and Trey and Dyson Daniels and Najee Marshall. They're heavy at that 3, and we don't have a 7-foot plus wingspan, lockdown defender. And so I'd absolutely use, IQ if we can get the lockdown 3-and-D defender. Then and that would kick. We'd lose IQ, but then we'd kick Grimes to the second team, and in that shooting guard spot, RJ would move to the shooting guard spot on the starting team.
Oof.
Well, Trey Murphy is he's gonna be a tremendous high value guy in the modern NBA. I mean, he already is. He's like the perfect prototypical guy.
50-40-90, man.
50-40-90. He plays tremendous defense. His length is something difficult to deal with for the smaller guards and smaller forwards. And he can also slide over to the power forward,
sure,
when you need him. But it would take, they're kind of similar, in terms of value to the franchises. I mean, the Trey Murphy Pelicans are gonna. But then again,
but they're overloaded, like I said, on the contract. So even if we go a step down, Najee Marshall is a dog, 6'7", 7 foot plus wingspan, an absolute pit bull on defense. So when you're building a defensive identity and culture, so I'd absolutely be going after a 3, because especially in this draft, you don't have one 3 in this draft that's better than Trey Murphy.
All right, interesting. Man, you made a good argument, because I was definitely on the. No, I'm not trading IQ unless it's like Lee was saying, as a package for a star. The thing is, Trey Murphy, and there are a couple of guys like that, not many. He's such a special talent for the modern NBA, and as we're going to move forward too, like it's not changing. The game's not going to change right now unless they put a 4-point play in there, or they move the 3-point line out further. If they move the 3-point line out further, that could change this game tremendously. It's
like Caddyshack 3. It's like a new golf course.
yeah, something great. So, barring that, Trey Murphy is exactly the type of weapon that you need, that we had hoped Cam Reddish could be for us.
And we're asking too much of RJ. He doesn't have that length. He doesn't have the athleticism, the burst, and the explosion. Cam was the prototype for us to do that. Trey is a much better shooting Cam.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. Since he's coming from Atlanta from day one, he's been a spotty shooter. The blue don't lie on cleaning the glass.
I think that'd be more of like a 3-team trade thing. But in general, we're not. So as the three of us, we're not looking at just kind of offloading quick make a lateral move, pick up a draft pick or 2. Like, we're not. It's not about accumulating assets for the future. It's not worth it for us.
No.
Because, and also IQ, the longer he keeps playing, and he's finally becoming the guy that I've always thought he could be. Again, I'm frustrated by the inconsistency with his shot, but I have no doubt it's going to come. That first rookie year, I mean, he shot almost 39%. He shot about 39% from the 3-point line, and it was on decent volume. It wasn't a fluke. That was for real. I think last season was a fluke.
Yeah.
Then he got off to a slow start this season, and then I was like, now I was worried. As the mayor of IQ Town, IQ Island, it was like, when's IQ finally going to come around? I'm like, I know, I'm frustrated, but just wait. He's going to come around. But look at his defense. Then his defense has reached a level nobody expected. Though it wasn't his scouting report in college. He actually was a very good defender in college. And now he's learned the one thing to give Thibs a shout out. He's definitely a defensive genius. That's for sure. Do I like his schemes in terms of how we approach the modern NBA? That's another discussion. But in terms of explaining to players where to be, what to look for, how to be aware, how to use your hands, how to position yourself on the floor, all that stuff. Thibs has totally brought that out in IQ, and we were seeing it a little bit in Obi as well, but he definitely regressed. So the defensively IQ is just his value is just so high in terms of that. And if you start,
he has a motor. Teams want to go after a guy that they don't have to worry game in, game out, possession in, possession out. He has a great motor. He's a student of the game. He's a great kid from building a culture standpoint. So that's why a lot of teams are going after him.
Yeah, and I've said it before. I'm still not off the idea that he could be a better overall point guard than Jalen Brunson. I'll explain why. Defense, he wipes the floor with Brunson.
Not even close.
And Brunson's has 4 years on IQ. And Brunson himself said, what that guy's doing, I could not do at his age. And he wants to learn. And what did Thibs say? Smartest guy on the roster. So I think anything, I love the idea of a Trey Murphy. Foxy, but I think IQ can be something special. I think he can be more than a good rotation piece. I think he could be a starter eventually. So if Brunson keeps being what he is and keeps getting better, we're obviously gonna have to do something about IQ. But we can get a lot more from him, maybe like in a year from now, even.
Yeah, like 4.2 million next year, and a lot of people don't realize that IQ has a bigger wingspan than Grimes.
Yeah, and Deuce. Yeah. All right. Well, that was great. That was a good one. Let's see. Let's take a little break here. Shout out to the chat. Anyone you want to shout out, Foxy?
D's World of Hoops, a good pal of mine, Derek. He has a great show every a day after games at 12 noon. So if you haven't checked out D, make sure you check him out. CA Mafia, Core Mega, and just shout out to everyone, JJ, and everyone. Thanks again for all your support.
All right, awesome, man. We got the poll here. 90% say no, don't trade Quickley this season. Love it. I love it. I love that he's earned it. Because before I was going off of projections, what I thought he could do. And obviously defensively I could see. But now he's delivering on all ends. His playmaking is there. He helps his other players too. Did you hear that whole thing? Where did I hear about that? I must have read it somewhere. Where now he's become the vocal voice of he's like the safety now, talking the defense. And Mitch was like, man, that's my job. But it's good. The more people that talk, the better.
Yep. I see more IQ and Grimes screaming out defense assignments than the vets.
Yes.
Pointing,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Brunson's not a defensive guy. Randall, even though he's definitely come on lately and he had a nice defensive season during his All-NBA campaign, he's never been known as a defensive guy.
The truth of the matter, anyone in the NBA at 6'1" is not a defensive guy.
Yeah. Well, Chris Paul would argue that differently. Do you like Chris Paul?
I do, but that's 1 out of a million. Meaning, you see Deuce, who everyone says is a great defense. On a switch, a 6'6" guy gets a shot over Deuce every freaking time.
Yeah, it's just physics.
It's a brutal league.
Are you a fan of CP3, Lee?
I got a lot of respect for CP3. I'm not a huge fan of his personality.
Yeah, it's been interesting, living out here in California when he was with the Clippers and all that. It was interesting watching him play. He's like I like him more now that he's gotten older than when he was younger. But then again, I'm always kind of biased against certain guys because he's not a Knick, like that kind of thing.
I think if I could have had any one player pair with Melo, it probably would have been CP3.
Yeah, I'm pissed too because they could have made that happen, but they wanted to get their bag, and they could have made it happen. They're
that would have been the best co-star for him.
Yeah,
actually, Melo would have been the co-star in that regard.
Yeah, and that's that would have been nice. Again, you guys hit the thumbs up button for us. I'd like to get at least 50 likes, if not 100 likes. That'd be awesome. We got a nice turnout here. We got 100 people in the chat. It's great. Let's get that going. The game begins at 7:30, but it always begins a little later. We'll be rolling a little later here. Once again, shout out to Lex the Destroyer. Thank you so much for holding it down. I see Manchild's in the house.
Manchild.
Yeah. Manchild. Carlton Thomas.
Day one.
BN. All right. The only guys we should trade for is OG or SGA, says the man. Ooh. Where is that?
I agree with one of them.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest OG fan.
Me neither.
Well, I prefer Trey Murphy over OG. That's just me.
Same.
Doesn't have the injury history.
Yeah.
I do too.
But SGA.
My number one trade target, probably. Him and Luka. It's real close.
Yeah. That's I
love SGA.
Would love those guys. All right, let's go on to the next one here. So in Bleacher Report, they put out their 30. They put out the article 30. 30 players or whatever that teams should be looking at right now during the trade deadline because it's coming up. And for the Detroit 'Pistons, interestingly, they listed that Obi Toppin and Cam Reddish should be targets for the Detroit Pistons. They say here that the Pistons should be tanking hard down the stretch with no Cade Cunningham, shopping veterans like Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, and Nerlens Noel, ironically 2 ex-Knicks, while looking to take on untapped young talent from playoff hopeful teams. The New York Knicks would make an ideal partner. Julius Randle's strong play means Toppin isn't going to land the starting job anytime soon, so the Pistons should check on the athletic forward's availability. The same can be said for Reddish, who's been out of the Knicks rotation for over a month. So, I'm not even going to bother with the bottom part because it's not a concern of ours. What would we, what would we want in exchange for Obi? Because he's Cam, it's a little easier. They've already established the market. They say at least 2 second-round picks for Cam. For Cam. But for Obi, what would you be looking to get, Lee?
Well, we know Scott Perry's direct relationship with Detroit going back to his days as the assistant to Joe Dumars. So I think there's some underlying connections there. We've dealt with them a couple times for the Derrick Rose trade, and then again offloading our veteran contracts and Noel and Burks to them. So there is a working relationship. I don't think there would be any fleecing going on, which is always a blessing to me as a Knicks fan. If we're giving up Obi, I like a pick, even if it's protected. And Isaiah Stewart, I think, would be exactly the kind of backup I would be looking for Randle. I think he's a guy who could live between 13 and 17 minutes a game and provide extremely good defense and energy off the bench, especially if he's paired with some shooting once IQ goes back to the bench. That's a really nice combo right there. But I would like to see play together. I have some issues with Sadiq Bey, who might also, I think he's available. I don't know if he's a Knicks target, but I do think he's available by the Pistons. I would be interested in a conversation around that as well. But I think like a top 5 protected first and Isaiah Stewart and maybe some other asset, I would be interested. But Bojan, I had no interest in Bojan on this team. I think he would have the same minutes issue, divine time between him and Randle. I hate the idea of him at the 3. He would just get destroyed. I think the 4 is the only position he can really play with efficiency on the defensive side, and even that is an issue. So I'm not looking at Bojan, but Isaiah Stewart would be awesome. Sadiq Bey in a protected first.
Okay. Foxy, how about you?
And hold on to him. We have him again on the cheap, like I said about IQ for next year. We watched a move, even though his first came back, a nice little move that we never saw from him last game. I'd like to see how he develops. We have him on the cheap, and meaning the same thing that, he was he was a lottery draft pick. I don't want to give up a lottery draft pick who's first learning the game and his 3-point shots coming around, everything that we've been waiting for, and then give him away for an unproven commodity.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would trade Cam because at this point he's just taking up a seat on the bench, and we're gonna lose him anyway in the offseason. So anything we could get for Cam, that'd be great. But Obi would hurt a little because I feel like we'd be selling on the low, and I'm telling you, this guy gets a starting gig in the NBA, and he's a 20-7 guy every night.
He's gotten better every year, every place he's ever been.
Yep. And defensively, he's got to figure it out a little more. But even with his issues, he'll still get a steal. He'll still get a block here, a deflection. Yeah. He'll clog up a space on the floor. And yes. There's times where he's totally lost. He gets backdoored and that stuff, but he also does plus plays on the defensive end. So if he can clean up the negative plays, he could become a decent defensive player. We just need him to be decent. He doesn't need to, because his offense has definitely a couple of gears there that we haven't even. We've seen it. We just haven't seen it over a long period of time. He's just in a tough spot right now behind Julius and with Thibs' inability to figure out how to play them together properly. But I still think trading him right now, he'd be on the low. I put him in a similar situation as with IQ. Wait. He could find minutes for him. He's going to wow people. There's going to be time, there's injuries coming, injuries always happen. He might get a chance to showcase himself again like he did last season, and possibly, maybe he can be part of a star trade if one appears. So I would hold off on that.
Can I make a case and clarification?
Yeah.
I don't want to trade Obi. He's my second favorite player. I mean, he's one of the few guys whose jerseys I bought. I got a lot of love for him. I just love how adorable he is. He's such a lovable personality.
You got to wear that jersey next time.
And there hasn't been a whole lot of lovable personalities on the Knicks roster in the last couple of years. I mean, decades even since the 99 team. So, I love him in that regard.
This roster has a good amount of those guys. Agreed. Well, you're right. In the past, it
good
was
kids.
Like
yes.
Young men.
Yeah.
Now, Detroit, the reason Detroit interests me is because they're a team that can bank on being really bad. Like, if you get a pick from them, even if it's top 5 protected, I think you're going to pick somewhere where Obi was selected between 7, 8, or 9. So that interests me just off the bat, because one Cade injury, as you can see, they're back to the bottom barrel of the league, especially if we start shedding more veterans like Albert Burks, who I presume will be moved by the deadline, and Bojan, then they're even worse. So there's definitely a deficiency of talent on that roster that I think is bankable for that pick to come back and be of quality. But I also don't think any Obi trades are going to happen by the mid deadline. I think that he is traded. It'll be in the summer. I don't think any of these major pieces, IQ, Obi, outside of Fournier and Reddish, are really the only true players I think that might be moved by the deadline. I think this summer is going to be the summer where Leon tries to make a big swing and go for a star in quotations. Whether that actually means a star or not is a different thing. But I think that's where you might see a guy like Obi be moved. I don't think it's going to be by the deadline, but Detroit is a team that I would have a lot of faith in to be really bad for the next 2 or 3 years. And I would be interested in doing a deal with him if the right pieces come back.
Yeah. I mean, if we got an unprotected first from Detroit, that kind of does make me listen a little more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'd have to get something back, even if we did a swap with them later on or something. I could see it would make it more difficult for me to hold on to Obi if we got an unprotected.
Only during the summer, though. It's not going to be a deadline deal.
Well, I'd want it this year. If I was going to get an unprotected from Detroit, I would want it to be for the 2023 draft.
Right. Well, it could be the summer. I'm just saying it won't be in February. I think it'll be in the summertime.
And that's a whole other other thing. But there aren't that many guys even in the draft that are better than Obi, other than like the top tier guys.
Well, at the 4, I brought up on the last show Taylor Hendricks that I really like out of UCF. Chris Murray's really, Keegan's brother is really lighting it up at Iowa. You have Gigi Jackson, a young kid, has a lot. It's a project, but he has the talent there. Jarass Walker out of Houston.
But they're not like clearly better. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you, but they're also not 24 years old.
Yeah. So we'd almost be kind of like swapping Obi for kind of
a
younger version of himself. Yeah.
That wouldn't be complaining about the minutes behind Randall while they're developing.
Right.
I'm definitely with you, George. I would want the trade to be 2023 for that draft pick as well. And hey, you had that, the Mavs, and your own. Now you have the possibilities of packaging him and moving up in the draft when trade starts begin to commence.
Yeah.
Or go after Terry Eason.
Oh, yeah. Who I love.
Terry Eason. Yeah.
Just wrote about him.
All right. Let's. Oh, cool. Drop that link. Let's move on to the next interesting rumors in that same article. Now, this is written with the Knicks' point of views, what their target should be. And this obviously shouts star hunting to me. Updated targets: Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, and OG Anunoby. While other teams may only want to add some minor upgrades here and there, the Knicks shouldn't be afraid to go star chasing. Few teams have the kind of draft capital the Knicks possess, and even the strong play of Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson has New York just 7th in the East. Adding a premier scorer like Beal or LaVine is at least worth checking the price on for the Knicks, taking this offense to an elite level. If the asking price is too high, Anunoby may actually be the better fit overall. Plugging the defensive juggernaut into a lineup that features Brunson, RJ, Randall, and Mitch Robinson would give this core plenty of size, scoring, and now an elite defender on the perimeter. Don't be shy, New York. Make some calls, is what they say. I'll jump in on this first. The main issue I have with Anunoby is well, for one, he's injury prone. He's injury prone, and that scares me. Like a guy that fit, why is he always got some little tweak, some little thing here and there? And also, I mean, who said Zach Lowe or somebody said that the asking price could be as high as what they got for what Danny Ainge got for Donovan Mitchell, which is to me is insane.
That's craziness.
It's insane. This guy doesn't change your he's not a franchise changer. Right?
No.
He's a foundational piece.
Exactly. But when you read that lineup, it's a nice lineup. You know, the starting lineup, that would be nice. But it's not worth it for me in terms of what it would cost to acquire him in relationship to his risk for injury. Now, if he was a free agent, you know, and we had some money available, that's a different story because you're not giving up assets to acquire him. In terms of Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal, absolutely, they are premier scorers. Beal, his age is worrying me, and again, talk about also injury prone. So I would shy away from Bradley Beal unless you know, it was just not. It wouldn't cost us that much. But I just can't see the Wizards doing that. So it comes down to, once again, Zach LaVine, the name that keeps popping up. I already talked a lot about Zach LaVine in the past, so I'm curious what you feel about him, Foxy.
Real quick take, knee, contract, and defense. No thanks. I passed the ball.
All right. All right. But Lee's got the ball now.
Hell no to all three. I don't know the interest adding somebody that adds any sort of window to where we are right now. I like that things are really wide open. Things are very fluid. There's no 2, 3, 5-year window. You know, we're able to develop. We're able to grow. You add someone like Bradley Beal and even Zach LaVine to that, and now all of a sudden the window is shrunk because of their age, where they're at in their career and their expectations, and the amount of pieces you give up. So if I'm going to close the window, it better be for someone like, you know, Ant-Man or SGA.
Well, Zach is even younger than Randall.
True, but then you add the other element.
But he has a 50-year-old knee.
Right. That's where the knee issue comes in, and the attitude issues come in, beefing with Billy Donovan, who I'm not a huge fan of Billy Donovan, but he's beefed with coaches before, beef with Tibbs. Not sure if that's a great fit there, especially defensively. So, and OG, much younger, but also a player that mirrors RJ in levels of development. It's always at a 2 or 3 point rise each season. I'm looking for someone who's capable of making like an 8-10 point jump in a season. And OG's been a little bit slow in his development for being in the lead for about 6 seasons now. Even though he shoots somewhere between 37 to 40% from three, I just don't think he's any better, that much better than RJ. He's not better than Brunson. He's not better than Randall, and he might not end up being better than IQ or Grimes. So, yeah, it's a hell no. Let's wait until the bid swing happens.
I'm going to push back a little on LaVine. I get the injury issues, get that, but there is no doubt that he is an elite premier scorer in the NBA. He's definitely a top 20 scorer in the NBA right now. And that's, I mean, we could definitely use that. That would definitely catapult us. If we were able to keep the core intact, which I'm sure we will. You know, we're talking about Brunson, talking about Randall, and RJ. If we could keep him and add LaVine to that, that would be a very potent offensive lineup. Now we take a hit defensively, so we'd have to hope that somehow we'd just be able to outscore teams, and then sometimes we were able to clamp down, and maybe LaVine can dig deep in his whatever shallow defensive toolbox that he has, and we can hope that RJ will keep improving defensively. But we take a hit defensively, but we take a huge jump offensively. He's similar to me as what Donovan Mitchell was, but we passed on Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan Mitchell was younger and better.
Yep.
So
better contract.
Better contract. And it just seems, and it seems like no diss on Zach. I don't know him personally or anything, but just the vibe I get, just Donovan has just a much better. He has a glow about him.
I agree.
And I don't see that from Zach. So, whatever you want to call it, leadership, whatever, maturity. And then, I watched that interview with last night with Donovan Mitchell talking about the 71-point game. He's just so composed, the guy. I just don't know if Zach has that, because those are the other intangibles that you get when you trade for a superstar. They just bring this gravitas, and it calms everybody else down and makes them feel more confident. I don't know if Zach gives you that. So yeah, you take a hit defensively when you bring Donovan Mitchell, but the other intangibles he brings, plus his potent scoring and playmaking, is just so far superior to anything most people can put out on the floor every night. So, but it's just something. You never know what the price might be. The Bulls might get desperate. We have a lot of picks, and if it costs us picks and not necessarily any key players, and you can add him, and maybe we flip him later, like the Warriors did it with D'Angelo Russell. See, I'm at the thing of you can acquire talent, and with each trade you make, you're upping your talent pool, your overall talent pool. But you got to keep making moves. You can't just think, oh, that's the end of it. Just something to keep an eye on. But I definitely would lean towards staying away from him.
Yeah, Levine scares me a lot. He hasn't played 70 games in 8 years. He's only played 63 games or more 3 out of the last 8 years. There's definitely an injury history there, and he takes a long time to get back from that injury and to get back into the groove after those injuries as well. I really loved the idea of Zach LaVine before the extension and the knee injury. I mean, I can recount so many times I'd be in the shower thinking about how that fits my Knicks, and Zach LaVine was a name that constantly came to my mind. And imagine him, in that Sprewell role from that 9-9 team, just coming down and just posterizing people. But once that extension was signed and the knee got injured, man, I don't think he's worth the risk, because I just have too much PTSD from Antonio Medice, man. I can't do it.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well said. Well said. Look at that. Lee Escobedo. There we go. Stephen Fox. George Esguerra. We got the trio here into the Knicks-Verse. It's been a great show so far. We still have more to go. The game is it's 4:30, but the game starts usually a little bit later. We're gonna keep going. Here we go. Free agent targets. This came up on Hoops Hype, and I just wanted to throw these in here just for us to talk about a little bit. Dillon Brooks and Malik Beasley. The thing is, we opening up cap space is going to be a challenge, but it's always possible. It's always doable. We were able to do it last season. What's your general feelings about Dillon Brooks and Malik Beasley? I'll go with Foxy.
Brooks is a dog. I love the Memphis, everybody that Memphis drafts has that same, mentality, man. Tough dudes. Watched him since college. Love the way he plays. And obviously everything's about value. What's the price? If the price is there, that's somebody I like. Beasley's off the chart for me. We're talking about young guys, culture, and he has some events in his past, and that I just don't think he'll add to the culture of this team. And again, we have a shitload of 6'4" guys. I don't need another 6'4", 6'5" guy. Either give me a wing, or who's the first guy again? Dillon. He's a 6'7" guy. So
yeah, to me, Dillon Brooks is the clear positive here. If we were able to open up cap space for him, Malik Beasley, that's only if somebody gets hurt and they're gone for a year and we need that an extra scoring punch. I don't even want to say any names because I don't want to jinx anybody on our roster. But you know what I mean? If a couple of guys took a hit, an unfortunate season-ending injury that takes a year to come back from, then maybe you look at a guy like that. But in terms of just all around adding to the overall culture of the team, I don't think Malik Beasley does that, but Dillon Brooks does. He definitely
Beasley's
does.
a 2 in my book. We're all full up on 2s on this team.
Yeah. Lee, what's your feelings on these two cats?
Finally, a rumor that gets me excited, man. I agree with Foxy 100%. Very, very little interest in Beasley unless it's on a really affordable deal. But damn, man, Dylan Brooks is salivating. That is an awesome idea to have him coming off the bench. And I'm just going ahead and say it. If we ever decide to move RJ, woo, what a backup that would be to move into the starting 3 spot. To have Dylan Brooks, Grimes, and Brunson, that's awesome. That's type of lineup that I've been wanting for this Knicks team for a very long time. Or guys that are switchy, that have like a moxie to them, a little bit of that attitude spark that I've really been missing at the 3 spot for a long time. But just there's no depth really. You think about the height and the wingspan and the size of our team. RJ is really the only like legitimate 3 we have, and he's probably best at the 2 guard spot. So we don't really have any depth behind him. And I mean, God bless his soul, Cam Reddish. He tried and he failed, but he really did try. Dylan Brooks would be, wow, someone that I really hope we go after. And I would have full faith in Scott Perry in getting a contract that's valuable. I'm sure that last year would be a team option. I'm sure it would probably be descending. You know, all the good things that Scott Perry has brought to this front office. I think he would put his imprint on that contract-wise and end up being a deal that, you know, we're not kicking ourselves later 2 or 3 years down the line.
I love great motor guys.
Yeah. And the thing is, RJ's not really a small forward. He's really a shooting guard. He's just big. You know, he's really a shooting guard. All right. Well, great. I think definitely Dylan Brooks is someone to keep an eye on.
Hell yeah.
Free agent wise. You would definitely be a good, solid add to this squad.
We love that, man.
I hear you. All right. Well, this has been a great show. Thank you guys for joining me again. My name is George. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do so and share this show with whoever might be interested in it. Just share it on social media and follow all of us on Twitter and hit the thumbs up button for us when you get a chance and drop your comments. Definitely, a thought comes up to you guys later on. Just drop it in the comments in the replay. Truly appreciate it. And Lee, thank you so much for joining me, brother. Appreciate you do this again. Foxy, we still got to jump into our draft videos. I got to do more work. I did watch some games recently, but I had to do some more scouting myself.
Maxwell Lewis is on tonight.
Who's the guy I like? Sensabaugh?
Bryce Sensabaugh, Ohio State. Yeah. Ooh. Another guy in the 50-40-90 thing.
Ooh, I'm liking him.
Number 2 or 3 on my shooting guard list.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, where do you have Cason Wallace?
Cason Wallace, he doesn't have burst. I think he's a good defensive player, but he's a combo guard. I just don't, he's shooting the 3 well, but I have a couple of other guys, a little higher than him.
I watch a lot of Cason Wallace and Anthony Black. I'm in Dallas, Texas, so I went to a lot of the high school games there and watched them in the state finals, and I liked both of them a lot, especially Anthony Black. He's going to be special.
If his shot drops, he'll be special.
His shot has to drop.
Agree with that.
That's for sure. All right. Looks like game has already started, and I think RJ hit a 3-pointer. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, if I'm reading that correctly.
Star J. Barrett.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you guys for joining. And, of course, I'll be doing a recap, so tune in for that. And I will see you around.